Do you desire to have a successful homeschool? If so, I'm Dolly Freeman. I'm the host of Influencing Your Kids. And on today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 planning anchors for homeschool success. Now, I'll be honest with you, these anchors are something that have been proven time and time again in our 23 years of homeschooling. I'm in the midst of planning for year 24. So I think I can say that I've learned a thing or two about what it takes to have a successful homeschool year. Now, these things are something that you might want to grab a piece of paper for and a pen in order to keep these notes for yourself, because they have definitely have proven to be the things that have made the most success in our homeschooling, besides creating that great notebook for each and every one of your children to have the routines of their homeschool lessons. Now, let's get started by understanding that what I'm about to share with you has happened over the years because I have become intentional and consistent in what it is that I have planned. Now, I want you to know going into this that out of those 23 years of homeschooling, I have successfully finished on the exact date that I have said that I was going to finish 98% of the time. So that's pretty high success when we have been able to finish all of our school and get to this place in our homeschooling year. So, knowing that you can pinpoint a place on the calendar long before it arrives and say, this is our last day, that is how I would suggest that you gauge whether or not your homeschool is being successful year in and year out, as well as looking to see the progress your children are making. Now, as I get started, I want you to know that what I'm about to share with you works even if you have life detours, which we have had many over the years, or you get a late start in your homeschooling, like we had last year. We sold our house in September, the middle of August. We moved out in the middle of September into going full time RVing, and if I can tell you, life was not right for a while. So we started quite a ways. I think 6 weeks later than what we normally would start. So when you learn how to make those adjustments of life demands and life detours, as well as late starts, you'll see that these pivots are these actual anchors will help you to have that successful homeschool. So let's get started by understanding the most overlooked homeschool anchor in planning, and that is when you have started your homeschooling day. Have you actually said, this is the time of the day that we will start homeschooling? Now, if you were like me, when you first started homeschooling, you probably have your schedule completely laid out, hour by hour, minute by minute, most likely, which is not a bad thing to have, but you have to have routines in place in order for that schedule to really work. And that's the problem most of us have going into saying, I want to start a homeschool by this time. Now, I'm going to bit of insight that we tend to be unrealistic with our routines in the morning. So I want you to give yourself a little bit of window of making sure those routines get in place. I used to want our homeschooling day to start much earlier than it really could start when we didn't get up as early. Maybe we had an infant that didn't keep us or kept us awake too much at night. And so you want to see what that morning routine looks like naturally, where you don't have to change too much to get you on the right path. And that is pivotal to how you can actually make progress with setting that hourly time for the school day and saying, this is when we're going to start school, and stick to it. That is the key. Stick to it. If you realize that your routines are a bit different here and there, you can actually say, okay, by this time, and I'm going to share this with you, not for you to take my time, but to see how I went from setting our time at 8 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock in the morning. And that 9 o'clock in the morning has been exactly how we have started school until we became full-time RVers. When our sons now share a room and our living room is a bit different, I have permitted homeschooling to start more around 9:30. I gave myself that little extra half an hour, as well as our son, because a lot of commotion, feeding the dogs, letting the dogs out, getting rest our whole routine rested so that we can actually breathe a bit and start that routine. So making those adjustments around the years are perfectly okay, but you have to stick to it once you've created that time. Now, the second thing I want you to realize is setting the date for the last day of homeschooling year. I know too many homeschools moms who just never plan that date. Well, let me tell you, when I have been able to put that date on the end of their calendar and say, this is the last day of school, which the only time I've never done that was this past year that ended, as well as our very first homeschooling year. All the other years, I had literally put a date on the calendar, which usually is the Friday before Memorial weekend. So for us, I don't want to be homeschooling the weekend of Memorial weekend because we normally have plans. So I put it the weekend before. This is just what I like to do. I also, when I do that, I let my kids know at the beginning of the school year, hey guys, this is our first day of school and this is our last day of school. And it gets them really anchored in on what is required of them. So I want you to keep doing it. Now, if you want a little bit of tips of how to do that, one of the main things I would do is put in your vacation times, those times where you're going to take off. For us, Thanksgiving and Christmas were the big times. I like to take 2 weeks off at Christmas and through to the new year. And I also like to take some time off at Thanksgiving because we're always traveling to family. So those are our main things. Once we get into the routine in January, we tend to skip over spring break completely. And it's only because we get very motivated by that last day of school year. We might take a day off here or there, but we do not normally take a full week off from January until May. And it works beautiful for our family. Find what works for your family, but go ahead and put in those vacation times where you're going to take off. And additional to that, I want you to also to be thinking about the terms and how many terms you have and what that looks like. That'll help direct those decisions. Now, the secret to managing dependent learners is to schedule mom. This is the biggest mistake I have seen moms make, myself included, is that we think we're scheduling this child and this child and this child, and we give the children all these different schedules. What we should be doing is giving them independent grade notebooks where they have the routine for their homeschool hours. But mom should be having the schedule related to her and to her alone. So what this looks like is mom needs to know where mom needs to be for dependent learning and where a child has the ability to have independent learning. When you can wrap your heads around having mom be the center of the schedule and have the children have their full year laid out in a grade notebook, you will see that those lesson plans that you put together provides the routines for those hours of homeschooling. And then mom can then plan out the schedule based on where she's needed the most during those hours of dependent learning needs. That is the biggest secret that I have ever learned. And when I can plan out that way, it makes a huge difference. So let me go through with you the 3 planning anchors in case you missed any of them. Number 1 is to plan when the start of your homeschooling day begins. Make sure your routines determine that. Number 2, I want you to set not only the beginning of your school year, which we all are really good at doing, but also that last day of homeschooling. Make sure you are motivating yourself and your kids to look at that day because we all need that end of year to celebrate and have that excitement over the promotion to the next grade. And then the third one is to schedule mom, not individual children, to where she needs to be in dependent learning. When you do those 3 planning pivots, those 3 planning anchors for your homeschooling, you will have more success than you've ever had the years before. Guaranteed. Now, if you need some help making those routines for your homeschooling hours, then I want to encourage you to plan for a homeschool success with the Great Notebooks. And with that, sorry, I did something wrong. You can go to gradenotebooks.com and go ahead and right now, there is $10 off the grade notebook. So you don't want to miss that. This is how you set up those routines that will help really give you that success year in and year out. And it's because of that, we've been able to not only end our homeschooling on the exact day that we have said, this is our last day of school, 98% of the time. But in addition to that, our children are motivated to finish it before the end of that day. They get so excited and motivated between March, April, and May, which is why we never take spring break. It's because they're excited to get it done. The hours are getting or the weather's getting nicer. The days are getting longer with the sunlight, and there's so much motivation. We don't take any vacations during that time, and that just helps us get to the end. All right, so go to gradenotebooks.com to set up those routines. I like to get into the comments and be able to help you get really clear on what it is, if you have any questions pertaining to what it is that I just shared in today's episode. Yes, I love those anchors too. I'm not really sure. I only have a business name here, affiliate marketing. So let me know who you are in the comments. I would like to name you by name. These anchors have proven to me time and time again, if I don't plan these things, they are the 2% of times we haven't had a very successful homeschooling. And it's those times that we never get to be there. Elizabeth, I couldn't even see your picture. That's how my eyes still have not gotten done. So hello, Elizabeth. So I want you to just really focus in as you're planning your homeschool. Don't leave out those anchors, because by doing them, you're setting up those natural routines. You're helping your children to take ownership over their homeschooling hours and helping that motivation be set in from the very beginning of your school year, and helping you and your children just looking at that end. None of us like to start out on something not knowing when we are going to promote, or when we're going to be successful, or when we can mark that thing off our to-do list. And that's the dangers of not having the end date, is to really get to your kids to the point of saying, we get to celebrate. One of the things our kids love to do year after year is burn their math lessons, their math books, not their tests, just their math books. They love to burn them in our fire pit. That was part of the celebration of I get to promote. They weren't able to burn any of their grade notebooks, although Manoah did ask this year if he could burn his grade notebook, because he did not have a curriculum. My husband made it as we were going along, and to really help him with his reasoning. And I'll tell you what, I was not happy. If looks could kill, that boy would have been dead, because I couldn't even believe he was thinking about burning his grade notebook. Any rate, so giving your kids those things of looking forward to celebrating that end of year, not just the date, but something that ties into them recognizing I've just moved from that grade to the next one, will build in that motivation that will last a lifetime of their education process. So be good about that. Becky, I think this is you. Walton says, scheduling mom is a great idea. It's not only a great idea, it's a necessity. You are one person and you have multiple children. If you schedule based on individual ones, this is where the chaos comes from. Inside the homeschool schedule approach, I teach you exactly how to do that, how to set up the schedules based on that. So you want to make sure you learn how to do that self-management schedule that transitions dependent learners into independent ones, while giving mom the knowledge of knowing how to schedule based on her, the one mom, the one teacher, the one manager, the one director, all of that, in order to give the kids that habits of moving forward. Okay, next month, we're going to move into something exciting. I'm going to keep you waiting until next week to tell you what that topic is that we're going to be focusing on in that month. So you don't want to miss it, because this one is going to be a great one, just like this month of planning has been. I hope you've enjoyed the planning season that we've been in this month together, and I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday, same time, 2 p.m. Eastern time, both on YouTube and on Facebook. Until then, bye for now.